Somewhere in your kitchen, right now, sits one of the dirtiest objects you own. Dirtier than your trash can lid. By some measures, dirtier than your toilet seat. And here's the uncomfortable part. You touch it every day, and then you wipe your dishes with it. I'm talking about your kitchen sponge. Scientists who study household bacteria keep arriving at the same awkward conclusion. The damp kitchen sponge is one of the densest microbial habitats in the entire home. And when you understand why, it's obvious. A sponge is a maze of closed little chambers that trap water. It stays wet for days. It stays warm. It's soaked in food residue. Moisture, warmth, food. That's not a cleaning tool. That's a life support system for bacteria. Japan quietly solved this problem in 1907. With an object that costs about $3, has kept essentially the same design for 119 years, and still sits beside kitchen sinks all over the country. The first time I saw one, in a little hardware shop in Osaka, I thought I was looking at a crate of hedgehogs. Round, brown, bristly. My landlady bought two without even glancing at them. The way you'd buy salt. Today you're going to properly meet the tawashi. Not just what it is, but the physics of why it works. Exactly how to choose one, use one, and care for one. And the 100-year-old philosophy hiding inside it. And, as always here, the honest part nobody tells you. First, 90 seconds of history. Because the origin explains the design. Tokyo, 1907. A merchant named Nishio Shozaemon is failing. His product, doormats woven from palm fiber, isn't selling. But palm fiber has a property he can't stop noticing. It's coarse, springy, and nearly impossible to wear out. The story goes that he saw a scrap of it, bent into a loop, being used to scrub, and scrubbing brilliantly. So he wrapped the fiber around a twisted wire core, curved it to fit a human hand, and patented it the following year. He named the company Kame no Ko, Little Turtle, for the shell-like shape, and because in Japan, the turtle means long life. The name turned out to be a prophecy. That company still makes that brush today. Same fiber, same wire, same curve. A century of cleaning technology paraded past it. Sponges, microfiber, melamine foam, battery-powered scrubbers, and the little turtle outlived the parade. Not through marketing, through physics. So let's do the physics. 3 mechanisms, each one simple, each one deliberate. Mechanism 1. Mechanical cleaning instead of chemical cleaning. Every cleaning method on Earth is some mix of 2 forces. Chemistry that dissolves grime, or friction that shears it off. Sprays and degreasers lean on chemistry. Effective, but they leave residue, and residue ends up in your next meal. A stiff bristle leans on friction. Palm fiber sits in a precise hardness window, measurably stiffer than a sponge, softer than steel wool. Stiff enough that each bristle tip acts like a tiny chisel, getting underneath dried food and lifting it off. Soft enough that it flexes before it gouges wood, cast iron, or stone. Hundreds of chisels, flexing across the surface with every stroke, powered by nothing but your hand and cold water. That's why in Japan the tawashi is used mostly with no soap at all. The force does the dissolving. Mechanism 2, the one that connects to everything on this channel. It dries in about an hour, and that is the entire hygiene story. Look at the structure. A sponge is closed cells that hold water inside. The tawashi is the opposite, open loops of fiber around a wire spine. It's mostly air. Every bristle is exposed to airflow on all sides. So water has nowhere to sit. It drains and evaporates almost immediately. And bacteria are not magic. They need standing moisture to multiply. Remove the water, and you remove the habitat. No antibacterial coating, no silver ions, no marketing. The shape itself is the hygiene system. Same principle as the thin tekanugui cloth from last week. A tool that dries fast is a tool that cleans itself. Mechanism 3. It refuses to die, and that changes the economics. A sponge structurally collapses within weeks, and food safety advice says to replace it constantly, which quietly turns a $1 object into a subscription. A tawashi used daily lasts years, and when it finally wears out, the traditional ones are plant fiber and a piece of wire, nature and metal. Nothing headed for a 500-year stay in a landfill. One design, 3 mechanisms: scrub hard, dry fast, last long. Now, here's the part most videos skip, and it's the part you can actually use. How to own one properly. 5 steps, take notes. Step 1. Choosing. The turtle's success bred plastic imitators. Molded brown bristles that look right and defeat the entire point. Because plastic bristles are uniform, so they scratch instead of flex, and they shed microplastic down your drain. Check the label for natural fiber: hemp palm, windmill palm, or coconut coir. Coconut is slightly stiffer, better for grills and garden tools. Palm is the all-rounder for the kitchen. The real thing feels springy, not sharp, and smells faintly of dry grass. And look for the wire core with a small loop at the end. That loop matters more than you think. Expect to pay $2 to $4. Step 2. The first week. A new brush sheds a few loose fibers. That's normal, not a defect. Before first use, rinse it under hot water and rub it against itself for 30 seconds to release them. Some households in Japan soak a new one in water for 10 minutes to soften the tips slightly. After that, it's broken in for life. Step 3. Daily care. And this is the whole secret. It takes 10 seconds. After use, rinse it under running water while rubbing it with your thumb. Shake it hard twice and hang it by that wire loop. Hanging is non-negotiable. Never leave it lying in the sink. Never standing in a wet cup. Remember mechanism 2. The brush stays hygienic because it dries. Lying in a puddle, you've turned your turtle back into a sponge. In Japanese kitchens, you'll see a small hook just above the sink, and the brush lives there, in the airflow. One hook. That's the entire maintenance system. Step 4. Monthly care. Once a month, pour boiling water over it, straight from the kettle. The same heat sanitizing habit we saw with the cutting board last week. If you have sun, let it dry outside for an afternoon. Sunlight and airflow do the rest. No bleach, no dishwasher. Heat and dryness are the tradition, and they're enough. Step 5. Retirement. And here is where the object turns into philosophy. In a traditional Japanese home, a worn tool doesn't get thrown away. It gets demoted. When the bristles flatten and lose their spring after a couple of years, the kitchen tawashi is demoted to the sink and bathroom. When it wears further, demoted again, to the entryway for boots, or to the garden for pots and tools. Only when it has served every tier does the fiber go to compost and the wire to scrap. One object, 3 lives, almost zero waste. There's a word for the feeling behind this. Mottainai. Mottainai. It's usually translated as, what a waste. But it's closer to a small ache of regret at the wasted potential of a thing. A word children in Japan grow up hearing when food is left on a plate or a usable thing is tossed. The demotion cascade isn't a life hack somebody invented. It's Mottainai, expressed as a habit. And once you see it, you realize the tawashi doesn't stand alone. The shuro broom, palm fiber on a long handle, sweeps tatami so gently it polishes them over decades and gets handed between generations. The te nugui cloth wipes, strains, wraps, and dries, and has for centuries. The hinoki cutting board, cypress, with natural oils that resist bacteria, outlives a drawer of plastic ones. Different objects, one philosophy, a single honest material, doing a single job, kept for a lifetime, respected all the way to the end of its usefulness. The Japanese home didn't accumulate clever tools. It kept the few that proved themselves, and it proved them for 100 years. Now, the honest part. Because this channel doesn't do fairy tales. Walk into any Japanese supermarket today, and you'll find shelves of ordinary plastic sponges selling perfectly well. Modern Japanese kitchens use them daily. For glasses, teacups, anything delicate or non-stick. The tawashi never replaced the sponge in Japan. It works alongside it, each tool in its lane. And that lane matters. Never use it on non-stick coatings. The same stiffness that saves cast iron will strip a non-stick surface. Delicate glassware, polished enamel. Use something softer. So no, one brush will not replace half your cleaning supplies, whatever the internet promises. It replaces one job, the rough work, and it does that one job better, cheaper, and cleaner than anything invented since. Which is the real lesson of the little turtle. Not that Japan has magic brushes, but that one object, designed honestly for one job, can outlast a century of gadgets designed mostly to be sold. So here's this week's invitation, and it's small and specific. 7 days. Move the rough cleaning, pans, boards, root vegetables, to a stiff natural brush. Hang it after every use, and let your sponge keep the glassware. Then come back and tell me, and everyone in the comments, what surprised you. Last week's kitchen challenge filled the comments with stories I'm still reading. Let's keep it going. If this earned one small spot beside your sink, hitting subscribe is the best way to say, keep going. And if you haven't seen how an entire Japanese kitchen runs on this same philosophy, the two-step triangle, the empty counter, the cleaning hidden inside the cooking, that full day in a Kyoto kitchen is on your screen right now. I'll see you in the next one.